Welcome, everyone, to Voices in Action, a podcast brought to you by Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living, a global disability resource and advocacy center, where here we dive deep into the lived experiences of many individuals at the heart of policymaking, substance use, LGBTQI+ advocacy and support, and so much more. In each episode, where we'll explore personal stories from individuals that shed light on real-world impacts and how they shape the lives of those in our community. Join us as we get insights from those who've walked the path and are making strides. So stay tuned as we unravel the threads of policy and personal journey and discover how EOCIL is making a difference in the lives of people, one story at a time. Hi, and welcome back, everyone, to Voices in Action. I'm your host, Amador Perez, and today we have a really quick update episode for you all to kind of fill everyone in on kind of what's been going on behind the scenes and kind of the direction that we're going to be going forward with this podcast series. Today, I am joined by Andrew Gurza, a common guest that we've had here on our podcast series. They are going to be someone that's going to be taking over and helping co-facilitate and co-host some episodes in the future. So we just wanted to give a filler episode for the meantime to get everyone refamiliar with Andrew, the work that they do, everything behind the scenes of what we're planning to do with this podcast series in the future. So without further ado, Andrew, thank you so much for being a part of this, giving me your time, like always.
Hi, how are you? It's so nice to be here. It's so nice to be doing this with you, and it's an honor to be asked to do this with you. So I guess I'll start by saying, hi, if you don't know who I am. My name is Andrew Gurza. I'm a disability awareness consultant and content creator, and I'm the award-winning host of the podcast Disability After Dark. And I've been doing some work behind the scenes for EOCIL for a couple months now, and one of the things that the wonderful folks at EOCIL were like, hey, you do podcasting, can you help us with this? And I was like, all right, sure. So I'm happy to come in, and I want to elevate what Amador's already done with Voices in Action to make it stronger, brighter, better. Not that what he was doing wasn't great already, but I want to make sure that, it's the best it can be. And I know you probably, up until this filler episode, I don't think we've had an episode on your feed for like a year and a bit now.
Almost, yeah. I think mid of last year was the last episode that I aired. I also went into a new position within EOCIL, so learning a new program, learning how to run that has taken up a lot of my time, and so that's why the consistency on uploads hasn't been there. And hopefully now, with your assistance and your expertise in like the podcasting and media space, hopefully we can get this back up and get the legs right back under it to make it what it was and better, like you said. And I don't think you did your podcast enough due diligence. I know we were just talking earlier before we recorded. You just recently hit a pretty big milestone on your end. Do you want to touch more on that? Because I would love to share it, because I've also tuned in when I first heard about it and looked at all the other like ventures that you've done and all your other like companies and side businesses that you've started.
Yeah, I started my show Disability After Dark. Will be 10 years this September, which is like, wow, can't even believe it. 10 years this coming September will be 10 years. And I wanted to start a podcast talking about sexuality and disability. That's how I started my career in disability advocacy, was like, hey, disabled people have intimate lives. Disabled people deserve access to sexual education, sexual health. We need to be talking about this. No one's talking about this. I want to talk about this. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put out, I was doing articles for HuffPo and for like The Advocate, and a lot of queer magazines were asking me to write for them, and I was pitching myself to them. And I had noticed that typing on a keyboard every day for hours on end was kind of tiresome for my body, just with my disabilities. It was not a lot for me to do every day. So I was like, well, what if I turn these articles that I'm writing into like 30-minute podcast episodes about sexuality and disability? And so that's kind of how it started, is I wanted to take what I was already doing and be like, instead of me typing and tiring on my body, why don't I just talk for an hour or 30 minutes to an hour and see what happens? And that's kind of how it started. I make the show totally independently. I have no producer, just like you. Like, it's me, myself, and I doing everything. I make it from my house here. There's no studio. Like, I don't go to a cool place to record. I'm not paid to record when I record. I do it when I can. And so in the last 10 years, we just the other day reached $500,000 to $500,000, which is like, what? I didn't even believe that was a number that I'd ever get to. We have just recorded, we're at, with bonus episodes, we're over 500. Before bonus episodes, we're about 415. So like, that's pretty cool. I never thought that anyone would listen to more than like 2 or 3 episodes, and here we are 400 later still going. So I love what I do, and I love that it started as a sexuality podcast. Now Disability After Dark is a everything disability podcast, because I noticed that after a year and a half of doing sexuality stuff, I was like, I have nothing more to say about that. What else am I going to talk about? Oh no, and we still do sexy episodes here and there. But I like that I'm able to talk about policy stuff. I've had Congress people on the show. I've had judges on the show. I've had people who are like big in the world of disability emailing. I've had authors on the show emailing me and saying, "Oh, I wrote a book. Can I come on your show and talk about it?" So to think that this little show that I've created from my bedroom has garnered like big name. I had Judy Heumann on my show years ago before she passed. So like I've had big names on my show just for me saying, this is the show I do, here's the work I do. Would you want to hear, would you want to come on the show, or would you want to listen? And so like, to think that something that I make from my home has garnered that much attention. It's won awards. I've been flown to Hollywood for this shit. Like, it's been really cool.
Yeah, and all well deserved. And you know, I know when we were having discussions about picking this back up, I like who better than someone who's done it themselves, all from the ground up, like you mentioned, doing it in your own home, on your own time, with your own resources, which can become like really taxing, trying to figure out how to do everything for the first time.
Oh yeah.
So
when I started the pod, we're not doing a video here, but I have a nice mic, and you have headphones on, and like, but when I started, I had my Apple headphones, my computer, and I plugged into the computer and said, okay, I guess this will work. And it was horrible audio. It didn't sound good at all. And I just talked for an hour. I'm pretty sure if you go back to the archives of my episodes and you listen to the first one, I was saying for like 20 minutes of me just saying, the next thing I want to say is this. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue. I had no media training. Didn't know any of that. I just, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And that's what I love about the show. I think that disabled people don't often get the chance to just tell their stories without being having it marketed a certain way or looked at a certain way. And with these podcasts that I do, I want the guests to come on and feel like they have a place here. So, like, one of the things I want to bring to Voices in Action is like, this is a place for you. This is a place for you to just tell your story. And it doesn't have to be like the most polished story. It doesn't have to be the most eye-grabbing story, but it's still important and still has value here.
Yeah, and absolutely. And it just allowing people to share their lived experiences. I know that was kind of at the forefront of all the episodes that I tried to record, especially with community members, is just sharing their stories, their lived experience of everything they've gone through, because it is valid and it is something that affects not just them, but a variety of different individuals in their own ways. I share my stories about my personal struggles throughout life, whether it be substance use, personal relationships, working, or anything really, to just be able to be a voice of advocacy and support for those who might be tuning in. And I know you had mentioned it was 10 years in the making to get to where you are today. And I think our podcast has been live for almost, I want to say 3 to 4 years, maybe. So we still got a ways to go before we can even touch those milestones. But
I mean, 3 to 4 years is a good. That's a good hard run. A lot of disability media doesn't ever see the light of day. So like the fact that I'm gonna cut that coughing fit out. So sorry.
No worries.
The fact that you're able to go for 3 to 4 years. Even if you have, I'm not sure how many, I can't remember how many episodes Voices in Action has, but like, even if it's just a few, like, I know disability creators who made 100 episodes over 5 years, and it took them forever, but they did it. And it's out there because, like, it's so important that we have evidence of ourselves in the digital space. And so, like, even if you just do a handful of episodes, at least it's out there. Like, it needs to be out there.
Right. And then also having like guests that are local to the community that we're serving, making it really personable rather than bringing in individuals that are from the other side of the country, places that rural Oregon can't really relate to, because a lot
Yeah.
of issues that we see are big city issues, or where all the funding and all the support are for those big cities. And then us being in the rural area, we don't see a lot of support. So we're kind of left out. But having guests, having these medical professionals who live within our communities, being able to share their experiences, share the resources that they have and what's available for people who live in these rural settings in Eastern Oregon.
Yeah. But then I think that's so important because I am, anyone who knows me knows I'm not coming to you from Eastern Oregon. I'm not there. Although I'm
Yeah.
coming there in the summer. I will be there to see you for the first time in the summer. I'm coming for an event. So excited about that. But I'm not from Eastern Oregon, but I am from a small town, and I know what it's like to think that, oh, that happens in the big city, it doesn't happen here. It's not important because it doesn't happen here,
Yeah.
or it couldn't happen here. And so this stuff that you talk about on Voices in Action, it affects everybody. And I like that it isn't, I like that you speak to everybody. Sometimes they're disabled, sometimes they aren't. That I think that in my work, I try to focus solely on disability because I want to speak to that
Yeah.
community for the most part. But I do think also, like, the stuff you're doing in Voices in Action is so valuable because it says to everyone, disability and, like, need touches all of us. And so
Yeah. And
everyone
if
should
it
have a voice in that.
Absolutely. And if it doesn't touch us directly as an individual, there's friends and family that go through their own personal hardships that we can then learn to support them and figure out what's the best way that we can go about it, especially if you are able-bodied. What can we do to not just look down on individuals with disability, but help support them to achieve their goals in a way that's meaningful and powerful? Because, like, again, speaking from experience, being someone who is able-bodied, I wouldn't understand the first thing that it comes with someone who needs wheelchair accessibility, someone who is visually impaired. Like, just recently, I just watched a TikTok video about these grooves in sidewalks and subway systems. I thought it was just decorative design on the sidewalk,
No, they were
but
designed for visually
exactly,
impaired people. Yeah.
that had never crossed my mind. I thought it was just some sort of architectural design.
Oh
Little
no,
did I
it's
know,
totally
and that's just
designed.
and just recently, I just found that out, that those are for people who use visual assistant devices like walking canes or walking sticks to be able to
Yeah.
track the subway system, to make sure they go through the right tunnels, making sure
Yeah.
to notify them when there's a corner or an intersection. And that's just something I just learned very recently. So I'm still on my learning journey, still trying to open my eyes and be a lot more understanding and try to be a better advocate for people with disabilities, people with lived experiences, people who are struggling with stigma and discrimination or anything really, and just be a good person and help out in whatever way that I can.
That's so awesome. And you're young, yeah? You're like in your 20s still?
Yeah, 25. I think I started doing the podcast when I was 22.
You're 20.
So,
Oh my goodness, I feel so old.
yeah.
I'm definitely not 25 anymore. Wow, I miss those days when I could eat whatever I wanted. Not anymore. No, you'll see, you'll see. So for people who've listened to your voice over the last 3 to 4 years, who are like, oh no, Amador's leaving. Like, did you want to tell the people, like, the kind of structure that we want for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I mentioned a little bit earlier that I'm still kind of like learning about this new program that I'm running with the Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living. But for the meantime, I'm not entirely going to be removed from the situation. I am going to try my best to either co-host with Andrew whenever I have time, or even run some solo ones myself. But I think for the time being, moving forward, you're going to be hearing a lot from Andrew and his perspective and the guests that they bring on to the show. And whenever I can, I will jump in, I will co-host, I will be a part of this in some way, in some fashion. Just like we had said, getting perspectives from everyone, and being someone who grew up in a rural area their entire life, and being the person I am today, I know the things that I needed to hear in order to have the mindset and the views that I have today. before, if you got to know me 20 or not 20 years ago, I would have been
I was gonna say you've been five.
if 5 to 8 years ago, I would have been a completely different person with a lot more closed-minded views, a lot harsher viewpoints on certain individuals. To where I am today is night and day difference. So I'm still going to try to be a part of this as much as I can. But I know, Andrew, moving forward, we'll start to take on some more workload on the Voices in Action section.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of give another little quick background about me. I've been doing this work in disability for 14 years now. I'm also queer, disabled. I have CP. I use a power wheelchair. Uh, I am. I'll give a visual description for those who are like, what does this person look like? Who are they? So I'm a white man in a power chair. Today I'm wearing a purple shirt with gray track pants and then black power chair. What else do I want to tell you about myself? I have short brown hair. Hey, and my face is covered by a giant microphone at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I don't, I want to just tell everybody listening to, like, I don't want to take away from anything that Amador has done. I'm certainly not, like, when Amador said they're going to be involved, it's still his show. I am just stepping in to be like, you know what, let me help, because we noticed that the show hadn't been on the air for like a year. We were like, let's fix that. So This is really me saying, I want to take what's already been done and I want to elevate it. And then, I want to allow for other options to come through, like other guests and people to come through. But I want it to be my kind of mandate with the EOCIL, now that I've been working with you guys for a few months, has been to provide social media consistency. And then one of the things that the wonderful, executive director Kurt said was like, can you also maybe, revive the podcast? I was like, sure, let's talk about it. So this is really what I want to do. I just want to get it back on its feet and get it up and running again. And because I've been doing my show for a decade, I know how to make a show run pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like some of the earlier episodes that we're going to start releasing is just more focused on EOCIL, just to make sure everyone's familiar with some of the different programs and departments that we have here. So I think we have talked about scheduling just really short interviews and uploading conversations with some of the directors of the various programs within EOCIL to just make sure everyone's familiar with us, because still to this day, some people aren't familiar, which is all right. We're going to get there eventually to where everyone is familiar with Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living.
And maybe I was just thinking about this off the cuff here now, and you can say no because it's your show, whatever. But I was thinking also like maybe we do a crossover with Disability After Dark, where like I put some of these on my feed so that people who didn't know that you did a show and didn't know who you are can be like, oh, cool, you're doing this now, great, just to get some more ears on it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take any kind of help and support that we can, because I mean that's what the work that we do is, right? Supporting one another, uplifting one another, and helping reach like our goals together to make everything, work smoothly.
So for people who are hearing it for the first time, who are like, what is this? As I have a call, I don't know what's going on. Let me try again. I'm going to cut that out because that was me copying for 2 minutes. Right. So just for people who are hearing this for the first time, they're like, I don't know what's going on. I know Andrew Gurza's voice, but what's happening? Can you tell us a little bit about who EOCIL is, what you guys do there, and why it's important?
Yeah, absolutely. So EOCIL, which stands for Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living, is a nonprofit organization based out of Eastern Oregon. We have offices throughout, located in Ontario, the Dalles, Pendleton, and La Grande, and we're serving 13 different counties. But essentially, we are a disability-based organization advocating for individuals with disabilities of any age to help promote their health needs in whatever way that might be. Under that, we provide a variety of different services. Me in particular, I am the newly appointed Assistant Director of HIV Outreach. So making sure individuals have testing resources local to them, making sure individuals are connected to the Ryan White program. We also have our own Ryan White program here that Kelly Ramsey manages. We also have a lot of independent living services, housing assistance, and a variety of other programs. I think it would take me quite a while to be able to list them all down, but that's kind of the gist of what it is that we do. And I encourage everyone to just check us out online. We're easily findable. If you just type in EOCIL.org, our website will pop up. You can follow us on all of our socials, which is primarily Facebook and Instagram, where we have multiple posts being put on there by Andrew, which is wonderful.
Most of it's me.
I've definitely noticed the uptick on that, so definitely check it out because there's a lot of great information that's getting put up on there, not just about EOCIL, but about local news, government news relating to some of the services that may affect individuals,
accessibility across the region, all that kind of stuff. So like what I want to use my expertise from Canada here is to just, I think independent living centers are so important, and I think a lot of people who don't encounter them directly have no idea what they are. So I think that the fact that you're a 501c3, that you're doing such great things within the region, and I just want people to know more about it. So yeah, I don't know where I was going to go with that, but I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah, no, likewise, and I'm excited to see what like the future holds, especially with these new episodes that will be coming out, getting our legs back under us, and trying to make this as best of a program as possible. With your help, Andrew, I know it's going to be a lot easier than what I was having to do with.
Yeah, and we were hoping to do. We're hoping to do episodes probably once every 2 weeks, so like 2 episodes a month to start, just to get our legs under us again, to get some footing with the show, to get it moving again. And if you're listening and you're in Eastern Oregon and you're like, I want to do a podcast, but I don't know how to. I'm scared. Or if you're listening and you're not from Eastern Oregon and you have any connection to disability or policy or any of the things that EOCL works on, or like community-based stuff, I'd love to interview you, because I'm coming at it from a completely different place. I'm not there. I don't know what it is on the ground. So I want to learn from you on the ground what it's like to be in Eastern Oregon, or if you're not in Eastern Oregon, what it's like to be disabled or needing community support in your shoes. So I really want to invite everybody who's listening right now to be a guest on the show, to elevate the show, and it's all really because of you. That's how we do it.
Right. And then I just want to add just one little thing there too. And if you have any questions that you want answered, please reach out to us on our socials, and we could try to address them on the show, whether it's something disability related, advocacy related. I want to make this as like interactive as possible with our listeners. So please don't shy away from asking questions. If there's certain topics that you would like us to cover, also shoot that our way, so that way we can find a guest to be able to talk and discuss those topics that are important to you and important to our community, regardless if it's disability based, LGBTQIA based, anything really. I think it's really important that we're not just doing this ourselves. This is because of you, our listeners, and we want to be able to incorporate that and make sure you guys feel heard when we are having the discussions with our guests in the future.
Yeah, and if ever you're like, if ever we do say something that you disagree with, tell us that too. We want to understand, your feedback, and we always want to do better. So like, we are just people putting out a thing, and we want to make sure we do it the right way. So if there's something you're like, I totally disagree with that, here's why, talk to us about it. And so if you want to come and tell us that on the show, we'd love to have a discussion with you too. Because I think that like, it's so important to just have different perspectives on independent living, and we want to hear from everybody as much as we can. So the way you'll hear about the show most likely, realistically, is I will post something on the EOCIL social media. So like, guess what? The show's returning on this day, blah. And then you'll know to look for Voices in Action. We're talking behind the scenes about maybe a new logo change, maybe potentially a new title, but I don't want to take anything away from Amador until we're sure. So stay tuned for all those things. We're not sure yet. We're just playing with that before we go any further. But for now, we just want to let you know that we're reviving the show. It is coming back. The new episode should you should be hearing this probably, I would say, like middle of March, realistically.
Yeah.
Um, so if you're listening to this right now, it's probably like March 12th or something, and I'm just really excited to be able to help and to be able to to be able to help a podcast grow and do what it's doing, and it's my pleasure.
Thank you, Andrew. It really does mean so much. And everyone listening, thank you so much. And we look forward to having you guys tune in next month, hopefully when we release. And that has been Voices in Action, a podcast by Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living.